Usually when we talk about a transaction, there is this expectation of absolute precision.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, think about a vending machine. You put your money in, you press a button, and a candy bar drops down.
Right. It's a very simple input and output.
Exactly. You pay the price, you get the good. The mechanics are entirely clean and predictable.
And we really gravitate toward that predictability.
Yeah.
When we are parting with our hard-earned money, we want a guaranteed return on investment.
Right.
That vending machine model is safe.
But then you step into the world of restaurant dining, and suddenly that vending machine is entirely broken.
Completely broken.
Yeah. We are looking at a transactional landscape that is completely murky. You walk into a dining room, you sit down, and the rules of engagement seem totally arbitrary. And the core question we are tackling today for our English learners is why some people can walk into a crowded, chaotic room and get treated like absolute royalty.
Right. While 90% of us are doing that awkward half wave.
Yes, exactly. Desperately trying to make eye contact with a waiter who just seems to be looking right through us.
It is a fascinating environment to study language in, really. Because a restaurant is not just a point of sale.
Yeah.
It is a complex ecosystem. You have unwritten social contracts, subtle power structures, and a high-stress, fast-paced work environment all colliding at a single small table.
Which brings us to the source material for today's deep dive. We are looking at a highly focused guide on essential dining English.
A really great resource.
It is. It specifically highlights the massive differences between basic ordering phrases and what it calls native phrasing.
Right.
And it shows how those linguistic choices dictate the entire trajectory of your night. So our mission here is to decode that mystery for you.
Exactly. We want to understand how utilizing very specific, polite phrases can instantly set a diner apart.
Elevating you from just another table to someone receiving unforgettable top-tier service. Because, we all eat out.
We do.
Whether it is grabbing a quick Tuesday lunch or sitting down for a major anniversary dinner, feeling invisible or awkward at a restaurant is a universally frustrating experience.
It really is. And what is crucial to understand right from the start, and what our sources make incredibly clear, is that contrary to popular belief, top-tier service is not fundamentally about the tip.
Wow, really?
Yeah. We have been heavily conditioned by society to think money buys service. We assume if we flash a big bill, the red carpet rolls out.
Right, like in the movies.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But a tip is retrospective. It happens at the very end of the meal.
Ah, I see.
The reality the source is present is that top-tier service is actually about the exact English phrasing you use from the very moment you sit down.
That makes so much sense. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
Let's get right into it.
Let's start right at the beginning of that timeline. So you have navigated the host stand, you are seated, you have browsed the menu, and the waiter approaches.
The initial order.
Right, the initial order. Our sources draw a stark, bold line between what they call basic phrasing and native phrasing.
They do.
And the prime example they give is the difference between saying, I want the chicken, versus saying, I will have the chicken, or can I get the chicken, please?
And that distinction, it might seem incredibly minor to a casual observer or a beginner learner.
Right, it just sounds like a tiny vocabulary swap.
Exactly. It looks like a subtle, almost irrelevant shift. But psychologically, the distance between those two phrases is massive when you factor in the power dynamics of the service industry.
Okay, I have a question here from the perspective of an English learner.
Sure.
Saying, I want the chicken, immediately makes me think of a demanding toddler in a toy store.
Right. I want this, I want that.
Yes. It is entirely focused on the self and basic primal desire. But I have to push back a little bit on the alternative phrase.
Okay, let's hear it.
Does saying, I will have the chicken, actually fix that dynamic?
Why do you ask that?
Because to my ear, as someone learning the nuances of English, saying I will have almost sounds a bit presumptuous.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a medieval king at a banquet shouting, I will have the roasted pheasant.
That is a very vivid image.
Right. It feels like it could come across as arrogant or too assuming to a server who is working a long shift. Is it too commanding?
The medieval king imagery is a great way to articulate that hesitation, but we have to look closely at how the psychology of the service industry processes these specific English phrases.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you say, "I want," you are stating a personal desire. And by doing so in that environment, you are inherently putting the burden of fulfilling that desire onto the server.
Ah, I see.
You are creating a master and servant dynamic, basically saying, I have a desire, and your job is to fetch the item that satisfies it.
Oh, wow. So it frames the waiter as just an obstacle between me and the thing I desire.
Exactly.
They're just the mechanism for my want.
Precisely. But when you shift to I will have, you are making a definitive, confident statement of intent based on the options they have already presented to you.
Okay. So it is not a blind demand.
Right. You are not demanding they fetch anything. You are simply declaring your choice from their menu. It establishes a polite, confident dynamic.
That makes a lot of sense.
It instantly marks you as a respectful participant in the dining contract, rather than a demanding consumer. And when you soften it further with, "Can I get the chicken, please?" you are actively acknowledging their agency in the process.
So it is the difference between issuing a command and making a collaborative request.
Yes, exactly.
You remove the friction of ego. And if we put ourselves in the server's shoes for a moment, they are dealing with dozens of people, maybe hundreds of individual requests over the course of a night.
Right. They're managing a massive mental spreadsheet.
Yeah. So if someone is confident, polite, and uses declarative but respectful language, they probably get categorized in the server's mind as a low-friction, high-value table.
You are touching on the concept of cognitive load there.
Cognitive load.
Yeah. A waiter's brain is constantly calculating timing, table turns, kitchen delays, and customer moods.
It sounds exhausting.
It is. When you use native phrasing, you reduce their cognitive load. They do not have to navigate your ego or interpret a demanding tone. They just have to register your confident choice.
That is a great way to think about it. We are making their job easier with our English.
Exactly. And the source material actually takes this concept of collaboration a step further when discussing how to seek guidance.
Oh, right. The questions about the menu.
Right. The specific phrases they highlight are, "What do you recommend?" and "What are today's specials?"
Now, I am always torn on asking for recommendations.
Really? Why is that?
Well, part of me loves getting the inside scoop, but I frequently worry I am just holding up their busy schedule because I cannot make up my own mind.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, I picture them tapping their foot, wishing I would just pick a pasta dish so they can go check on table 7.
It is a common fear, especially for learners who feel self-conscious about speaking. But using those specific phrases actually alters the entire trajectory of the meal in your favor.
How so?
When you ask, "What do you recommend?" you are instantly transforming the interaction from a simple one-way transactional order into a collaborative shared experience.
Okay, so you are basically promoting them from an order taker to an expert consultant.
That is a perfect way to phrase it. You are signaling that you value their opinion, their taste, and their insider knowledge of the menu.
Which everyone likes to feel valued.
Exactly. In the eyes of the staff, you cease to be an anonymous consumer and become a specific, valued guest. You are inviting them to curate your experience.
That is a huge shift in the relationship.
It really is. From a purely psychological standpoint, human beings love to share their expertise. When a server feels respected as an authority rather than treated as a food runner, they take personal ownership of your dining experience.
Oh, I get it, because their taste is now on the line.
Yes, they want you to love the dish they recommended because they chose it for you.
By asking, "What do you recommend?" you are essentially recruiting them to your team for the evening.
You really are.
If the food is amazing, they get to share in that victory because they guided you there. It fundamentally changes the relationship from adversarial or neutral to a microscopic partnership for the next 90 minutes.
And that partnership is the engine that drives top-tier service.
Right.
When a server feels invested in your meal, they naturally prioritize your table. Your water glass will not sit empty, and they will check on you with genuine curiosity about how you are enjoying the recommendation.
Rather than swinging by out of forced corporate obligation.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have placed the order beautifully. We have used our native phrasing, we have collaborated with our server, and we have established a great dynamic.
A perfect start to the meal.
But the real test of a diner's phrasing, and the real test of this entire linguistic framework for our learners, comes when the system breaks down.
Yes. The inevitable problems.
We need to talk about navigating moments of friction.
Friction is inevitable. A restaurant kitchen during a Friday night dinner rush is a highly complex, volatile system.
Absolutely.
Variables are constantly shifting, and mistakes are guaranteed to happen eventually.
It is organized chaos back there. So let's set up the classic nightmare scenario for an English learner.
Okay, lay it out.
You are at a nice place, you are trying to have a relaxing evening, and the food arrives completely wrong.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You ordered a medium rare steak, and the runner sets down a piece of meat that looks like it was cooked in the core of a volcano.
Just completely burnt.
Yes. It is well done, it is dry, it is unequivocally wrong. Now, the internal panic that sets in for a normal person in this moment is incredibly real.
Oh, the dread is palpable.
You sit there debating, do I say something and ruin the vibe in my second language? Do I just eat it and resent paying $40 for it?
Right.
I do not want to come across as entitled or demanding, but this is not what I ordered. How do we handle this?
That internal panic is where most people abandon all strategy. They either suffer in silence and leave a bad tip, or they react with emotional hostility, which immediately puts the server on the defensive.
Which helps no one.
Exactly. But the source material provides exact phrasing to address this mistake gracefully and effectively.
Okay, what is the phrase?
The quote is, "Excuse me, I ordered this medium rare, but it seems a bit overcooked. Could you have the kitchen fire another one for me?"
Okay, I need to freeze frame right there and zero in on this phrase, fire another one.
I thought you might ask about that.
Yeah. As a learner, does using behind-the-scenes restaurant lingo like fire feel a bit like you are putting on an apron and pretending to be part of the kitchen crew?
That is a very fair question.
Like, does dropping industry terminology actually earn respect from the staff, or is the real magic just in the polite, excuse me, at the beginning? I worry that if I tell a waiter to fire a steak, they're going to roll their eyes and assume I watch way too much reality cooking television.
It is a valid concern, and honestly, delivering it with the wrong tone could certainly come off as arrogant.
Right.
But we have to break down the anatomy of this specific quote to see why it works so well. It is essentially a masterclass in conflict resolution because of how the components interact with each other.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of those components.
First, you start with, as you pointed out, it is a polite, non-aggressive entry point.
Very standard English.
Right. It signals that you are interrupting their workflow, but you are doing it respectfully. Second, you state the facts calmly. I ordered this medium rare.
Okay, so just the facts.
Exactly. You're establishing the baseline reality without attaching any emotion to it. Then you deliver the pivot. But it seems a bit overcooked. The load-bearing word in that sentence is seems.
It seems overcooked. Okay, so you are not pointing at the plate and declaring, you ruined my steak.
Precisely.
You are offering a subjective observation rather than an objective accusation.
And by framing it as a subjective observation, you remove the emotional accusation. Human beings are hardwired to become defensive when criticized.
And servers often bear the brunt of mistakes they didn't personally make anyway.
Exactly. Using the word seems allows the server to save face. You are not pointing a finger at them or attacking the chef's competence. You are simply pointing out a discrepancy between the original order and the physical plate on the table.
That is such a subtle but powerful shift.
It is. And that brings us to the phrase in question. Could you have the kitchen fire another one for me?
The Gordon Ramsay directive.
Right. But here is why it is so effective when delivered in this specific, calm context. Fire is the literal terminology kitchens use to start cooking a dish.
Okay.
By saying, could you have the kitchen fire another one? You are providing a clear, actionable solution.
You are not just complaining.
No, You are not leaving it up to a flustered server to figure out how to navigate the kitchen's hierarchy to fix it. You are giving them the exact operational directive they need to punch into their point-of-sale system.
Oh, wow. So you are basically writing their script for them.
Yes.
Instead of the waiter having to go back to the kitchen and nervously say, the guy at table 4 is really mad and says his steak is dry,
Right.
they can just walk back to the terminal and say, table 4 needs a refire on a medium rare strip.
You are speaking their operational language.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you understand the reality of their workflow. It does not come off as condescending because it is paired with the polite, softening language we just discussed.
And the seams.
Exactly. It signals that you are empathetic to how their world operates. You are bypassing the emotional distress of a mistake, skipping the blame game entirely, and jumping straight to the logistical solution.
That is brilliant. By removing the emotion, you are giving them a logistical lifeline.
Yes.
You present the evidence, remove the blame, and issue the solution, all wrapped in a polite request. It completely neutralizes the fight-or-flight defensive response that usually happens when someone's work is criticized.
Think about how much emotional labor service workers expend managing the negative reactions of angry customers.
It must be exhausting.
It is. So when you approach a mistake with this level of objective grace and provide actionable language, the relief they feel is immense.
I bet.
They will frequently go above and beyond to fix the issue quickly, not out of fear of a bad review, but out of genuine gratitude that you did not ruin their shift.
They will probably comp your dessert just because you treated them like a human being while solving a problem.
It happens all the time.
So we have successfully ordered like a native, we have collaborated, and we have navigated a kitchen error with the grace of a diplomat.
A very successful meal so far.
The plates are cleared. Now we face the final hurdle of the dining experience, which honestly can often be the most awkward part of the entire night.
Settling the bill.
Settling the bill. Yes.
It's a graceful exit. It is a critical phase of the meal because psychologically, the end of an experience disproportionately colors our memory of the whole event.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Psychologists refer to this as the peak end rule. People judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end.
So the ending is crucial.
Absolutely. If the payment process is clumsy, stressful, or takes too long, it can completely erase the afterglow of an amazing meal.
Paying can absolutely ruin the mood, especially when you are navigating group dynamics.
Oh, group dinners are the hardest.
We have all been there. You have 4 people staring at a small leather folder, trying to do mental calculus.
Right, pulling out their phone calculators.
Just debating who had the extra glass of wine or who ordered the appetizer. It turns into a messy table negotiation.
And while that negotiation is happening, the server is usually standing awkwardly nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have to keep checking back, which pulls them away from other tables that need attention.
It just creates a bottleneck in their section.
It does. But the source material provides exact native phrasing to bypass this awkwardness entirely.
What do they suggest?
The phrases are incredibly simple, but highly effective. Can we get the check, please? And can we split the bill evenly?
Having those exact phrases loaded and ready to go feels like laying down tracks before the train arrives.
That is a great analogy.
You are directing the flow of the transaction before the friction even has a chance to occur.
That preemptive framing is vital.
Oh.
When you say, "Could we get the check, please?" you are once again using that polite but declarative structure.
Right.
You are not waiting for the server to awkwardly hover and guess if you are finished. You are initiating the final phase cleanly and decisively.
And attaching, "Can we split the bill evenly?" right at that moment is the real game changer.
It really is.
Because if you wait until the server is standing at the table holding the credit card machine, and then you start arguing with your friends about who pays what, you are holding the server's time hostage.
Exactly.
You are keeping them from turning the table or checking on their other guests by stating, "Can we split the bill evenly?" right as you ask for the check initially. You give them the operational instruction before they even print the receipt.
It is entirely about preemptive communication. You are anticipating the known friction points of a group transaction and smoothing them out with specific phrasing before they materialize.
It just makes everything so much easier.
It does. You ensure a smooth, confident departure for yourself and your friends, and you make the server's physical workflow significantly easier.
Let's synthesize all of this, because we have covered a lot of ground regarding the hidden sociology of a dining room, especially for our English learners watching.
We really have.
We started by asking why some people get ignored while others get treated like royalty. What our sources have illuminated is that receiving top-tier service is rarely just about the amount of money you leave on the table at the very end.
Right.
The tip is a retrospective reward for a job well done, but the service itself, the attention, the care, the speed, the collaboration, that is fundamentally about the respect commanded through exact, polite phrasing throughout the entire meal.
The vocabulary you choose dictates the reality you experience. You actively shape the environment around you by how you address the people operating within it.
We saw how shifting from a demanding "I want" to a confident "I will have" establishes polite authority. We learned how asking "What do you recommend?" turns a standard transaction into a shared collaboration.
Exactly.
We explored how using objective, actionable language like "fire another one" navigates mistakes without assigning blame. And finally, how decisive phrasing at the end eliminates the awkwardness of the check.
Which leads to a much larger and, frankly, more profound implication for the listener to consider.
Okay, what is that?
If slightly tweaking our vocabulary from a demanding "I want" to a confident "I will have" can completely alter our power dynamic and drastically improve our level of service in a restaurant, we have to ask ourselves a bigger question.
Which is?
How might auditing and upgrading our default phrases in other high-stakes environments radically change the outcomes of our daily lives?
Oh, wow. That is a great point.
Think about workplace negotiations. Are you using phrasing that creates defensive resistance or phrasing that invites collaboration?
Right.
Think about doctor's appointments. Are you communicating your symptoms in a way that makes a rushed doctor feel defensive, or are you partnering with them to find an actionable solution?
Even routine customer service calls on the phone.
Exactly. If these tiny linguistic shifts can make a stressed waiter treat you like a VIP, imagine what auditing your phrasing could do for your career trajectory, your healthcare, or your daily interactions. The words we use are quite literally the architecture of our relationships.
That is a powerful thought to leave on. If you would like to know how to speak English confidently and learn more English phrases, check out these videos.